serving the community in Vietnam, volunteering in Albania, and an urban center of influence in Baltimore City. All this and much more coming up next. Hello and welcome to Mission 360. I'm Gary Krause. Today's program is coming to you from the city of Baltimore in Maryland in the United States. And behind me you can see the statue of the Marquis de Lafayette, and then behind it the Washington Monument. Now you may say, has that moved from Washington DC? No, it's a very different Washington Monument. Not as famous as the one in Washington DC, but designed by the same architect. And perhaps it should be as famous because it's really the first major monument to America's first president that's been erected in the United States, and it was completed in 1829. Well, on today's program, we're going to be looking at mission right here in the heart of Baltimore, and we're going to travel to various parts of the world. And first up, we're going to travel to the city of Chi Minh City in Vietnam, and we're going to look at how Adventists are serving their community in that city.
Money and food poured in from members of the community when Adventists ran out of funds to pay for their meal program.
About 7 years ago, we have like a financial crisis in my city, and so a young lady in my church, she came up with the idea that we should do something for the poor people, at least to provide for them a meal. And so we start to prepare something nice for them. And at first we have only to prepare for 50 people. We put our own money and we put together, and so we prepare something simple but delicious and healthy.
Church members in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam worked together to serve home-cooked meals to a full crowd of people: children, students, retirees, and others looking for jobs. This first lunch outreach went so well that now church members prepare over 200 meals every Thursday. In total, the meals only cost about 4 million Vietnamese dong, or $180 US. The menu consists of rice, tofu, beans, pumpkin soup, tomatoes, and bananas. A perfect combination to fill an empty stomach.
More and more people coming, and at the moment now, every week we have 200 people come and eat our food. Sometimes we even thinking we should stop it, because if we don't have enough fun, then we go in big problem.
Maintaining this project has been a challenging task, as it invites a growing crowd. The church members see it as a way to do a simple act of kindness to people living in this huge city. This program has gained recognition and financial support from the community. Local leaders from other world religions and even local shops and individuals have joined in keeping it going.
We have people who selling vegetables at the market. We keep on buying them a lot, so many times that they're asking, why you buy so much? And so we have charity lunch. And so they give, okay, take this one, this week is for free. So the very week that we don't have enough money, that week we receive free rice, free vegetable from the people to give us. We never stop any single week because we don't have enough money.
Local authorities have also expressed their gratitude for the kind work and positive impact it creates in the community. But perhaps the most grateful are the ones who come to eat.
I walked past this building one afternoon and I saw this advertisement for the charity meal program. That is why I came here. Because of this program, I feel God loves me. God cares for me.
Aside from the meals, everyone is invited to join other church programs. 3 people have accepted Christ into their hearts.
Don't wait till we have all the fun. Don't wait till we have all the facility. Do whatever you can in whatever means you have it. So think of something that within your reach. You always can do something, and actually you have so many programs that you can do without money. So choose whatever you can do, and I'm sure when you do it well, and God will bless, the people will support.
There are still a lot of things that need to be done in Vietnam, and we want you to be a part of this huge work through prayer. Please pray for our church in Vietnam and for this wonderful project, May these church members continue serving the people in Vietnam so they will know more about the blessed hope.
My guest is Pastor Paulo, who is the senior pastor at the Ellicott City Church in Maryland. But we're in Baltimore, and we're actually in an urban center of influence that you're starting. Why are you starting a center of influence here in Baltimore?
Well, I came to Chesapeake Conference 2.5 years ago. And the Chesapeake Conference, they have this goal to plant churches around the conference. And when I heard about that, my eyes went to the map. They have a big map, different places they want to plant a church. And then we said, okay, let's do one in Baltimore, downtown Baltimore. And in the idea then, of course, we're going to start a church in the urban center like this. So the best way to go would be starting with the center of influence.
It's a beautiful space that you have here. Describe the community, the neighborhood where we are.
Yeah, so this is a very, as many urban places in America, it's a very diverse community, but at the same time, it's a community of a lot of young professionals, and also these millennials with small kids or children. So that's the most of the makeup of the community. And at the same time, here is this Easter Avenue. It's a very busy avenue. But behind it is houses, is residence, is a lot of people live in this area. So this is a beautiful place, a great place that God is giving to us to work.
Yeah, this is just a fabulous location. It's a corner, as you say, on a very busy, prominent street and densely populated all around. Now, how do you get to understand this neighborhood? How do you get to understand who the people are? Well,
one of the things that we have done is the survey. We hire a professional company to do the survey for us. And this survey shows the demographics, what kind of people we are going to work with here. And we also had another survey done for Adventist company, let's say. And we brought those two together, so have those two surveys to look the makeup of this community. And at the same time, you have been here walking the streets and, knowing the people a little bit, going back and up and down this street here, and in the community, what they have, what the business we have in the area, what they are offering, So, and then we have already a good idea what kind of community we are trying to meet, the needs.
Wonderful. And describe the space here. What do we have in the center?
Yeah, so when we rent this place, it was a big room, there is nothing here. So we divide the room here. We have one of the areas, we have a juice bar. So when you come in the main doors, on the left side is the juice bar. The other area is like a hangout area, so that people can sit down. They have a library as well, that they can get some books, they can read. And then we have our classroom. So these classrooms, you want to do mastermind styles, for the business, for also classes for parenting, for marriage, for, different leadership, personal development, those kind of things. So the idea is meet people as they're coming. They're going to have the juice bar. It's going to be a good attraction for this community. And then we're going to offer the classes, or they come for the classes, they have the juice bar. So that's the combination that we are going to offer for the community.
That's fantastic. And I just love this incarnational approach. We're not expecting the community to come to us. We're actually coming into the community where people are living. Now, you mentioned before that this is a partnership with another church. Tell me about that.
Yes, so Ellicott City Church, we started dreaming about doing something beyond our walls in the church. It's a beautiful church. I love Ellicott City, but we want to do something else. So then we start looking for something in downtown Baltimore. So later on, Pastor Diego Boker, he's a pastor of Baltimore White Marsh, and he also was planning to plant a church. So, and then we started conversation. He said, well, why don't we join? So then we joined our forces, collaborations, and then we are working together in the center now.
I love that, because our urban centers of influence should be a collaborative effort where we come together with a similar goal to start a new group of believers. So, Pastor, what are your hopes for this center?
Well, I think, the main thing is for people to know Jesus. And also we have what we have to serve the community for, to meet the needs of the community. But at the end of the day, we want people to know more about Jesus. That's the whole thing about it. So, and we start from the beginning, I also think, how can we reach this community spiritually? How can we help them to know more about God? At the end of the day, what makes us happy to know, what God has done for us on the cross. So we want to help them to understand that. So as we meet these people, we have a very simple approach, and I call miss, just miss. So is M for meet, people are gonna come, we're gonna meet them. The I is for invite. Do you want to have a class? Do you want to go to the park? So create this relationship. The invite is relationship. And then serve. In the serve, we are going to serve them, but also we want to invite them to serve with us.
Wonderful.
So this is Baltimore. There's different places that we can serve together. And then we want to share, because, share is dance. So that's why I miss, M-I-S-S. So in this share, we want to also start that conversation during the service. Because if I invite you to feed the homeless, I will have opportunity to talk to you about God. So we want to serve you, invite you to serve with us, that we can, in these conversations, to talk more about God.
I love that. I love that. It's not like we're coming here and you're our targets. We're actually going to involve our lives with your lives and work together. And I love the idea of serving together. What would you say is the major challenge that people living in this area face?
Well, both the surveys actually, they talk about health. They talk about how to raise the kids. A lot of single people in this area is also another need in the community. Financial improvement also as well is another need for the community. And of course, people are worried about violence and health insurance, those kind of things. But the top of the list is health, family, then you have because this is an area, Baltimore, people are always concerned about violence, but this area is a little bit more, it's better compared to other areas of Baltimore.
Yeah. Well, I think you're here for such a time as this, so God bless you in your ministry.
Thank you.
And viewers at home, please pray for the ministry here in the heart of Baltimore. Urban mission is our new mission field, and it's a huge challenge, but God is blessing. Next up, Cherie Peters talks about the challenges of inner city ministry.
Thank you for joining us on the program today. I'm Kaylee Ewert, and I'm speaking with Don Noble of Maranatha Volunteers International. Thank you for being here, Don.
It's a pleasure.
Can you tell me a little bit about what Maranatha Volunteers International does?
I can. We started 1969, basically to be responsive to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, specifically in the area of construction. We do a lot of it with volunteers. Since that time, we've worked in 90 countries.
Wow.
And built about 15,000 projects around the world. And so it's really cool to be able to work with the church very closely and to get people involved in mission directly.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about how you work with the church.
The way we work with the church, as I mentioned, we're a responsive ministry. We don't make up our projects. We respond to what the church asks us to do.
I see.
For example, maybe one of the divisions in Africa asks for 5,000 churches, which isn't unusual actually in this day and age. Sometimes it's more. So we go in and we meet with the church leadership and we say, what's feasible? What's your priorities? Where do you want to start? And we see where we could probably take volunteers and where we could be the most effective. And then we start working from there. And we do that in different parts of the world. Generally, we're working in about 10 or 12 countries at a time. Okay. That's typical.
How many volunteers do you have on an individual project?
That varies. I'd say probably the best number for the most positive interaction with volunteers and the best team building is about between 30 and 40, but sometimes there'll be as many as 150.
Oh man.
Like we just had a youth project. We've had a program called Ultimate Workout for 31 years, and sometimes 150 or even more teenagers. Can you imagine running one of those?
Yeah.
All on one site. This year it happened to be in a country within the United States called the Navajo Nation. The first time here in the United States because of the pandemic.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great to have the volunteers. They don't work on all projects, by the way. We also do projects where we're not using volunteers.
Oh. Can you give me an example?
Well, yeah, the pandemic.
Okay.
We have leadership people in construction in all the countries that we're working in that actually get projects ready, finish projects when the volunteers are done, because volunteers they don't know necessarily how much they're going to get done. We don't know what kind of skill they're going to bring. Sometimes one group gets a lot done, other groups doesn't get as much done, but we can't leave the project just sitting there. So they are there, they're skilled, some of them have worked for decades with us, so they do the projects now without the use of the volunteers. Sometimes they hire a few more of the locals. So we've actually done, during the pandemic, almost as much construction as we did before. So it's pretty interesting.
That's impressive.
In fact, we started drilling wells here a number of years ago, and during this last year, 2020, we drilled 430 freshwater wells, and we're looking at between 500 and 600 this year. So and by the way, that's a great evangelistic tool. We put the water well right next to the church or the school, and people come and they say, hey, you care about me, you care about my animals, you care about my life, now what else do you have? I see you have a church over here, can we come? Oh yeah. So the church grows as a result, so it's a great evangelistic tool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that it's not just a building project, that it definitely impacts the whole community.
Well, it absolutely does. In fact, when the volunteers go, depending on their skills and their interests, we always do different types of outreach in the community. A lot of medical work. That's typical on a project. Always VBS, for the kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes traditional evangelism, depending on the interest and the skill of the group that's there. So it's not just construction, although that's the focal point that you can look at and say, when you walk away, we did this. And the other also helps enhance the project.
Everything works together.
Absolutely. So
tell me a story about maybe a young person who was a volunteer who had their life changed through this ministry.
Well, I could go straight to the ultimate workout right now. There's a number of the kids. In fact, we had a little bit smaller group. I think there was 60 or 70 this year in it's actually Arizona, Kayenta, Arizona, the Navajo Nation. And at the end of the project, it was a very spiritual group that came together there, and they had 17 baptisms at the end of that time. So,
praise God.
Yeah, it's not just the impact on the locals with the building; it's an impact on the lives of the volunteers. In fact, we get calls from their parents and say, "Hey, what'd you do with my kid? I like it, but who's this kid you sent back with me?" So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
And we're working at a place in Kenya right now. In fact, I was there just a couple weeks ago. That it's a rescue center for girls. The Maasai people over there have call it a tradition of early childhood marriage, and also FGM that many are familiar with. And these girls, if they can, they try to escape from that.
Right.
And where do they go?
Right.
Well, we have this rescue center there. We now have over 300 girls there. And we're expanding it so that they have not just an elementary school, but they can stay there through secondary school.
Wow.
And we're building a lot of classrooms, dormitories, putting a wall around their facility.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see the lives of these girls. They come from a horrible background. They're becoming Christians. They're becoming educated. They have high ideals for themselves. I was just talking to a girl over there. I said, "I'm going to be a doctor," and she came from nothing. I mean, the next day, before she took off, she was supposed to be married to a 69-year-old man.
Wow.
And she was 9. That's pretty terrible.
A
lot of volunteers have gone on this project, and it's going to go on for a little while longer. So people can still go on this project, and they can see these girls. I mean, I can tell you the story, but when you go, you look in their eyes, you hear their stories, you know the reality of it. It's much more than just watching a picture.
Right, right. So if our viewers want to learn more about Maranatha Volunteers International, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, the best place is our website. It's really hard to remember, maranatha.org.
Wow.
That'll have actually everything you need. You can watch all our videos, you can sign up for anything, any project, you can find out projects that are coming up, and so it's a good resource for whatever you want to get involved with. And Maranatha, Jesus is coming. That's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Don. Appreciate everything you've shared with us.
Thank you. Glad to do it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today on the program. I hope you enjoy the next story coming up now.
Welcome back to the city of Baltimore, and more specifically to Mount Vernon Place, which is a beautiful historic space right in the heart of the city. Next up, we visit a young Adventist volunteer working in Albania.
Leilani took a year from studying at her university to become a student missionary. She knew she wanted to serve overseas, but didn't know where God wanted her to go.
I was just looking for a position I could teach English in a country that I had never heard of. So I prayed to God, asked Him to give me a place I had never been to, and now I'm here and it's the best decision I've ever made.
Leilani was nervous when her plane touched down in Albania, but now, just 1 month later, she's discovering both the joys and challenges of being an Adventist volunteer. She's volunteering at this kindergarten, which is run by the humanitarian organization ADRA Albania, in cooperation with local church leaders. The school was started with the belief that investing in the community's education will create happy, healthy children and families, contributing to a stronger society.
I'm the kindergarten ESL teacher. I teach 3 classes and all of them are in English.
Her classroom is bursting with energy as the kids engage in fun activities. Being a volunteer is not always simple or easy. Leilani has had to adapt to a new language and culture. When she arrived, she couldn't speak Albanian.
And then I come here and I don't understand anything and everybody's translating for me.
Another challenge is being so far from her family and friends in the United States. But the loneliest times have only reinforced her trust in God.
My spiritual life has definitely become stronger just being here for a month. I didn't even expect it. God is there every single day. I came here and my first day here, I was just like, what am I doing here? But through this whole process, you can see God. And so just being here, I'm just like, whoa, you do have me. You do take care of me. And it just shocked me and it's pretty cool. It's actually really cool to know somebody's watching out for you.
Please pray for Adventist volunteers like Leilani, who have accepted God's call to serve. You too can visit AdventistVolunteers.org to see a list of current volunteer opportunities. Thank you for supporting the Seventh-day Adventist Church's work around the world.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on today's program. And I hope that you've been inspired, but also challenged by what you've seen and heard, as we've given you a 360-degree view of mission around the world, from Albania to Vietnam to here in Baltimore City. Very different parts of the world, very different cultures, but all the people in these places having the same need for Jesus Christ. And I want to thank you so much for your continuing support for Global Mission. Thank you for praying for Global Mission Pioneers, for urban centers of influence. Thank you for your donations to Global Mission and your continuing mission offerings, which make a tremendous difference. Well, for Adventist Mission, I'm Gary Krause, and I hope that you can join me next time right here on Mission 360.